Trust that you have figured out everything you needed up until this point, and that you will figure out everything you need moving forward.
Are you noticing that there's a massive surplus of businesses to be bought and they're ready to be sold? Or do you notice that as you're going through due diligence, you're like, holy Hannah, you don't even know anything about where your money is?
When you take over a new business, it's like you're jumping into the deep end and learning how to swim all at the same time. One of the big lies that we tell ourselves is that we need to understand before we can move forward. And really what you have to do is decide that you're willing to learn.
Life is a pitch. It's simply that. It is a pitch, and it is fun. Well, let's make sure that you're being sold what you want and you're selling what you actually want to sell. I really just love selling. It's the easiest thing on the planet if you believe in yourself. Let's buckle up. By the way, my name's JL. This is Sell Anything.
We have a very special guest, someone that I have known for about 2011. Did you know that's when it happened? You presented a master influence.
I was trying to do the mental math backwards. It's been well over a decade. I can tell you that for sure.
It has. So, because the only reason I remember is because I think you were on stage one time and you said, hey, it's 11/11/11 at 11:11. Let's take a moment. Because it was like November 11th at 11 o'clock a.m. at 11:11. It was pretty wild in 2011. So this is Amy Walker. She is the founder of the Exit School. And so we have kind of been teeing up, going in the direction of people riding the silver tsunami or just getting in the game of buying businesses, acquiring businesses. And you are an expert in that field. And so we wanted to bring you on and hear your story and all of those fun things.
Absolutely. I'm always excited to have this conversation because this is one of those conversations that I wish someone had told me about 10 years ago. You know, you have those moments where you learn about it and you're like, I am equally happy that I know this and equally ticked that nobody told me. Like, why did I not know this a decade ago? But that's okay. We learn things at the right time. So I've started multiple businesses. I have done about 8 different startups. And when I was expecting my 5th son, I was 6 weeks away from having my 5th son, I started my consulting practice. And I started it a little bit kicking and screaming. It was like God was telling me, this is your time, go do your thing. And I was like, what are you talking about? I'm about to have a baby. I want things to be smooth. This is not the right time to start a business. But I jumped. I took the inspiration, ran with it. And I built a solid little consulting practice. So I was first year in business, we did over 6 figures. Second year, we quadrupled sales. We kind of plateaued around like 500 to 600,000 in top line revenue. We were doing in profits somewhere between 180 to 240,000, depending on how poor we wanted to look on our taxes. And I had this great little lifestyle business. I was raising 5 little boys. My husband and I moved out to Georgia and bought some property, and we really ran this business around what worked for our family. And it was great until the year that it wasn't. So fast forward, we hit 2018, and I got a call from Adult Protective Services that my grandmother was struggling with dementia. She was no longer safe to be living on her own. It was time for the family to get involved. And I was like, got it. I will rally the troops. I'll talk to, her kids. She's got 3 kids. I'll talk to them, get them all together, and we'll figure out a plan. Well, for whatever reason, each of them was not able to be involved in the care for their mom. And so that fell to my sister and I. And so here we are, and I'm still trying to balance all of my children. I'm still trying to balance my business. I'm trying to, get my grandma taken care of who lives across the country from me, sell her estate. It was just very overwhelming. And in that moment, I also had some things going on at home with my kids too. And in that moment, I really felt strongly that I needed to take a step back in business. It was time for me to focus on family. And I did it willingly and stupidly and assuming that everything in my business was going to be fine. And I don't know why I thought that, other than it just seems like if you do the right thing, like it should all come together, right? But instead, what happened was our business started to fall apart before my eyes. And we went from doing, 600,000 at 240 in profits to doing just barely breaking 6 figures in sales. That was not profits. It was incredibly painful. We were struggling to pay our bills. I felt like the biggest fraud in the universe. It was like one of those moments where it felt like, well, maybe this year is actually the truth about me and all the years leading up to it were the lie, maybe I really can't do this. And so it played with my head quite a bit. And I went through this mental battle zone, I think, where I really had to get very firm in who I knew that I was and what I knew that I was capable of. But I also had to be really honest with myself, which was I had built a lifestyle business that I could run in a way that it ran completely around my family, but it was 100% dependent on me. There was nothing else. It was me, it was my name, it was my goodwill, it was my time, it was me doing the sales, it was me working with the clients. Like it was just all me. And I didn't want that ever again. I was like, you know what? I will take this moment right now and I will learn this really hard lesson and I will never run business this way again. From here on out, my business has to be able to run without me. It has to be valuable, independent of me. And I have to have a true profit engine. Like this has to be a real business. I will never again have a job that I own. And it was a big turning point. Now, I didn't know that that was going to lead me down the path of acquisition, but that was the moment that turned me towards being even open to acquisition. Because if you had asked me back then, like, hey, do you want to buy a business? I would have been like, no, I don't have millions of dollars. I know how to run this business. I'm really good at running this one. I don't know if I would be good at running other businesses. But I think that we all have those moments in life where you look around and for me, I do think that discomfort is the mother of change. And comfort is the mother of sameness. And so for me, I had to get a little bit uncomfortable to really look at my life and say, okay, it's going to be different from here forward. We will do this dramatically differently. And when I got introduced to acquisitions, I still honestly said no. The first time my partner reached out to me and was like, hey, let's go buy $100 million worth of businesses. I was like, real quick, no, thank you. And the reason why was because I didn't have a lot of cash in the bank. I did need to have stability to provide for my family. Like I am the primary breadwinner. And I didn't want to rock the boat and leave us in a worse financial position. And also, I just didn't know if I would be good at it. So I said a real quick no. And thankfully, I also changed my mind within 15 minutes.
Okay. So I'm so curious. You said a couple of things that I think are amazing. One was discomfort is the mother of change. That makes a ton of sense to me. And comfort is the mother of sameness. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sameness. It's like, if you want to be comfortable, you can be, but your life is going to continue to look the same because the growth zone is not the same as the comfort zone. The
So
growth
true.
zone is, it's uncomfortable. It's exciting. It's fun. It's terrifying. It's all the things at once. And your comfort zone is like, this is what you're used to. This is what you're good at. This is what you know. You've proven it before, but you're not really going to create massive change by staying in your comfort zone. And that was kind of a hard thing for me to learn that in order, if I wanted to create big success and big wins, I also had to be willing to take some risks. And I also had to be willing to fail. Like that was a hard one to go. I could do all the right things and I could still fail. I could make some wrong moves and it could be my fault that I fail. But if I'm going to win on a bigger level, I have to be willing to see what failure looks like. And ooh, that was a hard one. Hard pill to swallow for sure.
No, that makes a ton of sense. And so the reason I had to just verify is I thought you maybe had said insaneness. And I was like, yeah, that checks out. If you're doing the same thing all the same time, you're never going to get that's the definition of insanity.
I mean,
same
it is
result.
a little insane as well, right?
Yeah. So, but that makes perfect sense. And then the other thing that I noticed was ready to have the baby. And you're like, God said move. So I moved. And then I can't help but wonder when you're like, I said no the first time and within 15 minutes, I changed my mind. Was that also a God thing?
Oh, very much so. It was like I could just hear God being like, "Hey, Amy, remember all the things that you've been asking for in the last couple of years? Remember all the commitments that you made to yourself that you'd never again choose between like what your family needs and what the business needs. I'm literally opening that door for you right now. you might want to reconsider your answer. And it was like, ooh, okay. So now I walked into a meeting and by the time I left my car until I got into the meeting, said hello to everyone. I sat down, I pulled out my phone under the desk. I texted my business partner and said, I'm in. Don't know what this looks like, but I'll call you after this meeting.
So cool.
Yeah.
Isn't it so funny that like all of a sudden the opportunity presents itself and we reject it. And then within seconds, it's like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
And
you
then,
feel it.
yeah, it's so cool. God is definitely
Mhm.
in the details for sure.
For sure. Yes, I 100% agree with that.
Well, that's the perfect segue to the next question. Tell us about the business you decided to jump into with your partner, which I believe is the acquire business, but then also the exit school, which is what probably most people who know you online now is with the exit school.
Yeah, probably that we actually own several portfolio companies together. So currently, as it stands, we have one marketing agency, which is actually a roll up of 3 acquisitions that we've done. We have an operations company, we have the exit school, and then I also own 4 crumble cookie locations in Houston. And we're in the process. I've got a couple other that are under contract right now that I'm hoping will close by the end of the year. So we are actively doing acquisitions. We've done 7. 6 of them were good. 1 of them was terrible. And what I think most people know us for is the exit school, and we're helping other people to do acquisitions. One of the things in the acquisition game that we decided pretty early on we didn't want to be was we didn't want to be the gurus that had, hundreds of thousands of people moving through their programs all the time, that we were just an education only company. We really wanted to be transaction partners, because the whole reason we started the exit school was twofold. One, we really believe that people should be doing acquisitions. And we believe that good people having a small business is the best thing that they can do for their community. They can create jobs, they can create income, they can give back. It's politically, it's called small seat conservatism, but it's the idea that we need more small business, not more big business. Now, on the flip side of that, too, was like, what do we actually want out of it? We want to do $100 million worth of deals. And so we're looking for the right deals that we can partner on. Obviously, you can't do that many deals all by yourself. You have to have partners in there. And so the exit school is basically our deal flow incubator, where we find really great people. We watch them work. We watch them go through the process of finding a business. We see that they're hungry. We see that they're humble. We see that they're smart. We see that they work hard. We see that when they get disappointed because the broker was a butt face to them, they didn't cry in their cubicle for the next 3 weeks and not show up for anything, they just push through. And so you get to vet out people and see who you really would love to be business partners with. And then we also get to vet their deals as we support them through the due diligence process, so that when the time comes that they start to look for their partners on that deal, whether it's finance partners or strategic partners or industry experts, that we can put our names in the hat and see if we might be the right ones that would be a good fit for that. So that's why we built the exit school. Was we wanted to create something. I'm a big believer that you can do more together than you can do on your own. And that's really what the exit school has created for all of us. Is it creates deal flow. It creates, we definitely have more investors in the exit school because we're all looking for investors. And as soon as somebody finds one, that's somebody that we can go back to and we can pitch again in the future. We definitely have better footing with SBA loan officers, because they won't just look at the applicant. They'll also look at the exit school's credibility and put those together when they're considering if they want to underwrite a loan for us. So it just has been really, really helpful to kind of run it that way.
So you guys have a entry level class, I guess you could say. It's called Acquire, right?
Yeah.
So I had the opportunity to go through it last week. Super cool, super organized. And one of the things, and your team is on it, very, the coolest thing of all of this. And it speaks to what you were saying in the beginning of the call, that the business isn't dependent on you. You're the face, you're the ads, we're who you see. And then a little bit of John, who's your partner, right? But once people entered your ecosystem, it's like Carla's texting you or Justine's texting you or so and so.
Mhm.
Like it's not dependent on you at all, which is
Yeah.
awesome. And it's but you, because of your background and your expertise and then being able to teach and persuade, like obviously you're the face, but super cool that kudos to you. You've already started down the path to get out of being dependent on you.
Yeah,
That's
and
awesome.
I have never been more grateful for that than I was this fall. So, um, my husband just turned 50, like on Saturday. He had his 50th birthday.
Wow.
And
Nice.
on August 1st, he called me. I was out of about an hour and a half away from home, and he's like, "Hey, I'm not feeling very good. I'm feeling really faint." And I said, "Well, do you want our son to take you to the doctor? Like, what do you want to do?" He's like, "No, I think I'm just gonna lay down." So I got home about an hour and a half later, checked on him, and he's like, "I think I'm okay. I'm just gonna get up and get going." Within 30 minutes, he realized he was very much not okay. And so I was driving my husband to the hospital as his whole left side of his body is no longer functioning. And he's just really not feeling well. And he had a stroke. And that was not anything that I would have ever imagined was on our horizon when he's not even 50 years old. And like, I mean, we were playing tennis every single morning, we were eating healthy. Like, it's just not on the radar. And I was able to have that all that time. Like in years past, that would have not just been a health crisis and a family crisis. It would have also been a financial crisis because I would have been like, how much am I going to have to pay for the hospital and the rehab facilities? I mean, he was 3 weeks in hospital and rehab facility. Plus, then I would have also
Wild.
been stressing about like all the sales we were not making while I was
Right.
in the hospital with him and we were doing all of those things. It just would have been immensely stressful. And my team just had it. Like every single
Yeah.
business ran fine without me. Everybody stepped up. Were they happy when I was able to plug back in? Sure. Was there like things to do when I plugged back in that they were waiting on me for? Yes. But they could legitimately run without me for 3 weeks and they probably could have gone longer. And that to me
Wild.
was the day where it was just so grateful. I was so grateful for the hard work that we'd done the 2 years prior to get all of the companies to that point, because that wasn't the case even a year before that. When we first bought them, that I was we bought I would say we bought too many too quickly. So
Yeah.
we did 7 acquisitions in 1 year. And that was a lot. And then trying to get all of the operations running the way that they should I was just more hands on than I wanted to be. I think my ideal pace is probably more like 2 per year. I think I can do 2 per year and not be so, bogged down in the day to day of all of them.
Right.
But it was just so grateful. I'm, grateful that I did the brave, scary thing and that now I'm at the point where I am where I just have so much more stability than I had ever before.
Yeah. That's that's wild. That was this
Yeah.
fall. Literally this fall he had a
Yeah.
stroke.
Literally August. Yeah. August 1st, 2025.
Oh my gosh. And he's
Yeah.
good now. He's 100%.
No, he's not 100%, but he's good. Like, when we were in the hospital, they were kind of alluding to the fact that, in 3 months, he'll probably be able to walk with a cane. And, he's young, so he'll get his movement back. And like, we were out playing tennis again this morning. So he's not 100% because his capacity, he tires out a lot faster and his brain gets tired and he just can't push hard like he used to. So his pace is really different. But he can do pretty much all the things that he could do before. So we are incredibly grateful.
Okay. Well, this might be too soon, which is my MO, but can I make a joke?
Yeah.
Okay.
We
Okay.
joke about it all the time. Okay, so let me tell you this. The
Okay.
day after
Yeah.
the stroke, when he couldn't move his leg, but he could like wiggle his toes, he was wiggling his toes, being like, "I can still win a one-legged butt kicking competition," and we just like laughed until we cried. It was like all the energy that had
Yeah.
boiled up over the last 24 scary hours. Yeah, so we were joking about it from day one. So we're good
I
with jokes.
Okay. I love it. So who is winning in tennis? That's what I was really curious about.
Oh, it's 100% me. And every time like I hit a slam on him
Yeah.
and he gives me that look, like that was mean. I'm like, this is your physical therapy right here. Like you should be thanking me. I
So
will give you an
okay.
hourly rate. But
Okay.
also let's be clear too. When I was like 9 months pregnant and we were playing tennis, he still wasn't making it easy on me. So I don't feel bad about it. I've lost to him for 25 years. I'm winning
Okay.
for a marginal period of time. I don't know how long it will be, but I'm just running with it.
Okay. So before the stroke, he was running the table to an
Oh,
extent.
for sure. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So that's all I wanted to know is if it opened a window for you to dominate and you took it. That's all I wanted to know.
Yes.
And I'm
And
glad that you did.
I am running with it. I feel no shame or guilt about
You should
kicking his
not.
trash because it's good. It's good for him. I'm like, hey, that's your physical therapy.
You did this to yourself, my man. Let's do this. Yeah.
Yep.
No, I like it. I like it a lot. Okay. So with the exit school and the 7 acquisitions you guys did, the Crumble Cookies is a franchise, right? Did
Yep.
you notice that it was easier to buy a franchise than it is to buy an individual mom and pop business? Or what would you recommend? What do you see out there?
So I am pro buy a franchise if the franchise is already operating, it already has cash flow and the numbers look good. The other thing you have to look at if you're buying a franchise is like, how is the franchise support? And you want to talk to other owners who are currently operating their locations and be like, hey, are you glad that you're with them? Are they helpful? What does the marketing look like? What does the support look like? When you need help, what do they do? Like, you really want to interview and know what that looks like because you are very tied to them. And your ability to make different decisions and make different moves in the business is not as high. When you buy a privately owned business, you have a lot of freedom and flexibility in terms of how you want to grow that business and what you want to do for that business. But I don't think it's easier or harder to finance one or the other because when you're buying an existing business, it is all about the cash flow. Like, you're looking for a business that it can support, it has enough profits after all the expenses come in, it has enough profits to cover the debt service, to pay your salary, and it's also got some buffer zone left over for growth funds. And if you have all of those things, then you're in a good spot. If you don't have those things, you should not be buying that business.
It makes perfect sense to me. And I don't
Yeah.
remember if it was John or who said it in the class, but it was basically the idea was the way you decide to buy the business is how much pleasure it can give you after you buy it. Like, or what's the exact words that he uses? Like,
We don't buy businesses. Businesses buy themselves and they pay us for the pleasure of running it.
that's
what
it.
Yeah.
That's it. And I was like, that makes sense to me. And from my experience, any business I've had that does not cash flow, there's not a lot of pleasure. There's not a lot of pleasure.
I was talking to somebody recently and they said this to me. She said, you talk about people just going out and buying businesses and becoming millionaires. She's like, if it was that easy, everyone would do it and the world would be better. I was like, oh, no, it's not easy. It's really hard. You're going to spend a year working to find a business that actually fits the criteria of what you want to buy. And then once you buy it, you have to run that business. So we early on had a conversation about a business that we could have bought. And as we got into it, I was just like, I feel like if we buy this business, we're going to be buying a headache. And I'd rather not pay for headaches. And it was like, okay, that was kind of the foundation of one of our principles is we only buy businesses that make our lives easier and better. And if they don't make our lives easier and better, and if it's going to be harder and worse, then we shouldn't buy that business. Now, I'm also not saying that there isn't a period of time when your life is harder and worse. Due diligence, your life is harder and worse. It's not fun to go through all the financials with a fine-tooth comb and make sure that you're validating cash flow. It's not my favorite thing to do. But you know what is worse? Buying a business that's losing money. And now you have a major headache on your hands, right? So it's worth it. Also, like the first 6 months of buying a new business, I don't think your life is better and easier. I think your life is harder and worse. But after 6 months, your life should genuinely be better and easier. It's just that it's like when you take over a new business, it's like you're jumping into the deep end and learning how to swim all at the same time. But as soon as you can swim, it's great. It just, you can't expect yourself to get there like overnight. It takes some time.
Sense. It makes sense. It's like fitness. Like, it's like the first 3 months of any new program, it's like, this is a joke.
Yeah.
But then after a little bit of a while, you're like, oh, okay, this is easy. I can do this.
Yeah.
So
you get it.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. No, I I bought a business. Let's see here. We're going into our 4th year of me owning the entity as a whole, but I had built it inside of another company for the first 2 years. And even having built it, I was never really exposed to the financials of it. And again, I wasn't exposed to the financials of it fully, even when I was going through the due diligence of buying it. So having like the idea of the exit school and having someone help you do due diligence would make a ton of sense. Because once we actually bought it, closed, signed everything, personal guarantees are out there, everything's out there. Like it comes to light of like, oh yeah, dude, we didn't disclose this 800 grand in accounts payable that you are now on the hook for.
Oh, that's
And it
so
was
painful.
like, oh dude, it was so rough. Still consequences
so
from
rough.
it today.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, so the cool thing about the exit school is that it gives people the ability to dodge those curves. Because we bought a headache. We bought some pleasure for sure. We bought some freedom for sure. But it came with a strong dose of nausea and headaches and things of that nature. But
I get that. You know, we had a bad acquisition too. I think a bad acquisition teaches you everything that you need to do to make sure you don't have one again, right?
right.
And so we had a bad acquisition too, and it was that we were letting other people do the due diligence for us and telling us that everything was fine. And then as soon as we bought it, it was like very clear that it wasn't fine. This business was actually losing money and probably had been for a long time. And so that was the moment where we're like, okay, what are the lessons that we learned from this? Number one, we are never going to buy a business again where the owner is the secret sauce, like where they're the reason that the business is successful. Number two, we are never going to buy a business again that is uni-channel for marketing. Like they only have one way that they bring in leads and one place where they sell. Not doing that again. Number three, we are never going to abdicate the role of due diligence again and trust other people to tell us that the finances are good, because it was so apparent so early on. What had happened was this business was completely dependent on, I'll tell you about this business and no one's going to be surprised why it was a bad acquisition.
I'm actually so excited because I feel like so much wisdom is about to come out of your mouth. So we're ready.
They were selling athleisure wear all through Facebook ads, and all of their goods were imported in from China. And this is the year of tariffs. This is the year of volatility and ad spend and client acquisition costs and all of that. So they were having to, in order to get their ads to work and to get people to actually buy through their ads, they were having to do these crazy like discounts and giveaways to the point where they were actually losing money. So every time they sold a unit, they were losing money. So we had tons of cash that was coming through. And yet it was like, why is the cash coming in and going out so fast? It was, insane. It would be like, we have $800,000 in the bank and we can't pay our bills because the bills are coming in faster than the cash is coming in. And so it was just this massive learning experience. But that's where, three of our foundational principles of due diligence and like what we buy and what we don't all came out of that experience. And I think that's the benefit of working with people who are actively doing what you're doing, not people who did it twice 10 years ago or 15 years ago. Like we're actively in the game doing what you're doing. Is I learned so much from every deal that I'm working on. Like I just had a failed acquisition this fall where this business closed $100,000. They closed $1 million. They cleared $1 million in profits last year. And this year they kept saying, it's all in accounts receivable. It's all in accounts receivable. It's fine. Last September, we had $1 million in profits come in. Like this is just normal for the insurance game. But they had only cleared 60,000 in profits, and it just kept getting worse and worse. And, like actually having been through enough acquisitions, I knew like, no, I even had a bank who was willing to lend on it. And I just had to walk away and say, you know what, until you guys fix the accounts receivable problem, like we cannot buy this business, because I'm not coming into it with all of the profits needing to be collected, and they were old as well. And so
Yeah.
it's just things like that that you just learn and you look at it and you're like, no, this is not normal. Like there's better, easier acquisitions to do. I don't want to buy something that then has an uphill battle, and that uphill battle is a hard one to fix, and it's going to affect cash flow. Like I'm willing to buy a business with problems, but I need it to be a business that has problems I know how to fix. And that for me, fixing those, it's not super hard. That's the
Right.
right type of acquisition to do.
That makes perfect sense. So when you say there are easier and better acquisitions out there to do, are you noticing that there's a massive surplus of businesses to be bought and they're ready to be sold? Like meaning the founder or the original owner or who currently occupies it has their ducks in a row? Or do you notice that as you're going through due diligence, you're like, holy Hannah, you don't even know anything about where your money is? Like what are you seeing more of as you do more due
Both,
diligence?
all of the above.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So we have a deal, and I actually love this deal. So 75-year-old woman, she lives in Atlanta. She's been running this business with her sister, who I think is like 73, and they've been running this business for like 30 years. It's a profitable little business. Books are a mess. Papers are a mess. Like the office is just stacks of papers, and they happen to know where things are. Like it's a mess.
Yeah.
Operationally and financially on the books, this business looks terrible and nobody would want to buy it. But we took the time to like go in and actually figure out what's going on there. So we went and rebuilt the profit and loss statements from their bank accounts. And
Mm.
they, in the last year, they did 850,000 in profits. It's a
In
really
profits?
profitable in profits. Yeah, it's a really
Wow.
profitable little hot mess of a business.
Yeah.
And the things that it needs, it actually just needs somebody to go in and like digitize this business. That's not the hardest thing in the world to do. You
No.
know, like to go in and just say, okay, we're going to set up QuickBooks from here forward. Everything goes through QuickBooks. The
Online,
ledger,
not the desktop
yeah,
version, online.
yeah. They operate off of a ledger, and they think that the ledger is the ultimate fact and their truth, but the ledger actually only tells them they made 400,000 last year. They actually made 800,000.
Wild.
And so, you know, like the ledger can be where you keep track of your pipeline until we then go in and set up a pipeline. And then all the sales need to go in there. And so it's just like future moving. You're going to need to set up bookkeeping. You're going to need to set up an actual CRM. And those two things right there, after 6 months to a year of those running, your business value is going to increase to probably like 3 million. Because
Mm.
even if this business doing 850,000 had just had clean books, they would have sold for probably like a 3x, and instead they're selling for less than a 1x, which honestly is fair. No bank is going to fund this. Like it has to be done entirely through private funds. It's not attractive because of the, you know, stacks of papers and the two older women who are running it. Like it's not an attractive business on the
Yeah.
outside, but it's something that if you can come in and you can capture what's being done and build a system around it, it's actually a really good little business. So some of the businesses that we look at are like that, where it's like there's some dirt on it and you have to go in there and figure out like, okay, below the dirt, what is there? Is that actually something that is useful? Now, the thing that is great about this business is not owner dependent.
Mm.
So she actually only works about 10, 15 hours a week in this business, and her sister only works like part-time as well. If you actually just got somebody in there full-time, trained them on their processes, there's a lot of potential for growing this business and then growing it into other regions as well. Um, I do find that there's a lot of businesses listed. My opinion is that when you're looking on the public listed sites, it's actually harder to find good deals.
Mm.
There's a lot of bad deals listed, and there's a lot of average deals listed. It is kind of hard to find a good deal, one where you look at it and you're like, wow, in a year or two of fixing this, I can increase the value by significant amounts. I find those are more likely to be on off market deals. So these are just people that you're networking with. They haven't decided to sell yet, but they know they're starting to think about retirement. And they're just a lot more willing to do things like seller financing. They're a lot more willing to be reasonable on the asking price and the multiple. So that's where I find the best deals. But there is a ton of deal flow going on right now for sure. It's just there's also a lot of it that are actually bad deals that you have to wade through and just kind of kick them out as fast as you can and be like, nope, nope, nope. This one looks okay. Nope, 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 nope. This one looks okay. Nope, 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 nope. This one might be good. Like that. It's just, you're not going to get on and see. You have to dig a little bit through all the hay to find your needles in the haystack.
That makes sense. Great analogy. So here's my question on that. You said that there are 3 things that you'll never do again, right? So can't be owner dependent, can't be unilateral in marketing. And then the third one was, forget.
I will never outsource the due diligence and just trust that other people looked at the finances appropriately.
Right.
Like I will always go through the numbers. Not that I can't have help. I can absolutely have help and advisement. But at the end of the day, like I got to be in those numbers to make sure that I know what I'm looking at and that it actually has the cash flow that it needs to be successful.
Okay. So, which then brings me to the second part of this question. Because as you know, there's tons of content out there about, hey, the silver tsunami and blah, blah, blah. There's all this stuff out there.
For sure.
People talk about their buy box. Do you have your buy box more specifically, or is that even a thing of like, I'm going to buy a home services, or if we're like, I'm going to buy a laundromat, or I'm going to buy blah, 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 or is it, I'm not going to buy businesses that I didn't do due diligence on, that are unilateral and that are owner dependent. How do you, is it
both.
do's or don'ts inside your box?
Both. I have my don'ts list and I have my do's list. So, the most important part of the buy box is not actually the industry that you want to buy in. It's understanding the value that you bring to a business. Because the value that I bring to a business is I am really good at a couple of things. And then I'm mildly good at a bunch of things. And I'm really bad at a lot of things, right? So my things that I'm really good at, I am really good at a business that just doesn't have a strong sales and marketing process. If I can come in and I can just fix sales and marketing and the business is going to be better because of it, that's a good business for me to have my hands on. The other thing that I am really good at is getting a team aligned to like the strategic vision and getting the leadership and management of the business organized so that we have a strategy, we're marching towards it. I'm really good at that. Things that I would be like things that I'm okay at. I'm also solid at setting up better operations, but I also own an operations company. So they are really good at that. So those are my 3 things. If the business needs a better strategic vision and the leadership to be aligned to it, if it needs sales and marketing, if it needs operations, I'm really well equipped to buy a business like that. Now, beyond that, then you're looking at industries that you're interested in. So I do love B2B service businesses. That is just where I've spent the majority of my time. I also like B2C service businesses because that's probably the second place that I've spent the most time in my career. So I'm really comfortable in both of those spaces. I don't really like e-commerce businesses because it's not where I mean, like me knowing how to solve a supply chain problem, I just don't have the background and the experience in that. I haven't really done it a bunch of times. I'm also not a huge fan of like hands-off businesses that don't really require a team or don't really require people, because I feel like that takes away all of my ability to be strategic and to create improvements. So that's kind of what I'm looking for. Now, in terms, once I've got beyond that, I always have 3 industries that I'm looking into right now. And then I'll have my list of industries that I'm going to look at next. And I'll have my list of industries that I've already said no to. So, for example, when I first got started, I, like just about everyone else in the world that thinks of acquisitions, is like, let's go buy HVAC companies. So I went and I did a bunch of CEO interviews with a bunch of HVAC companies. And I learned that their multiples are trading really high right now because they're hot commodity to buy. So they're actually hard to cash flow with the formula of the loan needs to cash flow, the business needs to cover the loan payment plus your salary plus room for growth. when you're trading at a 5 to 7x multiple, that's hard to fit that formula. And so I didn't like that. The other thing was like 99.9% of the businesses that I talked to, the owner had the license and it takes 2 years for me to go get a license.
Mm.
So I didn't love that. And as I went down that path, I was like, you know what? Here's what I don't love about it. I don't love the multiples being high, and I don't love that it needs licensing. Well, what is similar to this that is also pretty recession proof, that is going to be able to trade for a fair multiple and it doesn't require a license? And then I started looking at other kind of home service adjacent businesses, like landscaping companies, like flooring companies, roofing companies, siding companies. Like there's a lot of different types of businesses where you still have some of the same benefits. It's a similar business model, but you don't have quite the same hurdles. And so that's kind of how I move through my industries. Is I have ones that I'm interested in, that I'm looking for right now. I have ones that I've already said, I'm not really that interested in that right now. Maybe I'll come back to it in a while. Maybe I won't. And then I have my what's up next on the docket list as well.
With the multiples of the HVAC, it's 5 or 7 right now, right?
Yeah.
Is it like everything else where that flow will come back in and it's like, okay, it's lower?
It
Have you
might.
noticed that?
It might. I don't think it's coming anytime soon. Like I don't have my eye on purchasing any HVACs in the next couple of years.
Yeah.
Now, what I would do is I would consider consulting for equity. So if I could find an existing HVAC owner who is like, I want to do a roll up, I could go help them find the other ones to acquire, and we could do a roll up. And I would consult for equity on something like that. But I'm not interested in like personally buying or operating, because also I don't really want to go to HVAC school for 2 years to get the license for it. So it's just not like
Yeah.
a great industry for me to be in, but it could work under a different structure, but not for an outright purchase.
Okay, cool. So that actually is probably a whole other can of worms that we won't open, but it sounds like other than just acquiring and being the operator of a business, inside of this game of acquisition, there's 100 different strategies, and 100 is an exaggeration because I'm a sales guy, but there's a handful of really solid strategies of how you can make money doing this.
Probably more like 5 or 6, but not 100. But there are different ways that you can do it for sure.
Okay.
It doesn't all have to look like one same path.
Without disclosing too much, because obviously
I'll disclose it all for you. Here we go. Lay it on the table. Okay, so here's the different roles that you can play.
Okay.
Number one is I could find a deal that's not a great fit for me, but it's a great fit for you. And I can basically wholesale that deal to you, right?
Okay.
So I can negotiate it, I can get it under contract, and then I can say, actually, I want to transfer this to you, and then you buy it, not me, but I get a percentage because I got that deal for you. The second option is that I can do consulting for equity, which I do have a couple that I'm in talks with right now, where my skill set would really help them increase the value of their business. But they're not ready to sell yet. And so for me, the way that I'm approaching it is, hey, you want to get ready to sell. I can help you increase your value for the sale. And then I want a percentage of the upside when you do sell. So that would be consulting for equity. You can also be an operator, which means you're going to buy the business and you're going to sit in the seat of the one who's managing the day to day. You can also be an active investor, which means I'm putting in the money and I'm going to be helping with the strategy, but I'm not going to be the one that's like managing the day to day of the business. You can also be a passive investor where you're like, hey, I'm going to put money in for this deal. I believe in the team. I believe in the business, but all I want is dividends and debt payments. That's what I want out of it. So there's a lot of different ways that you can get into the world of acquisition. And depending on your circumstances and your situation and what makes sense, you can find a path that works for you.
So cool. Okay, that was 5. You nailed it. That was
okay.
Great.
There we go. So, I feel like I might be missing one, but we're pretty close.
But honestly, just diving into any of those could be a whole week's worth of like, well, what do I really want to do? What are my unique gifts that I bring to the table? It sounds a lot like, you know who Dan Sullivan is?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So his unique ability, right? Like how each person has their unique ability. That's kind of how it sounds like we structure our buy boxes based off of our unique ability. What do I bring to the table that changes the game for everybody?
Yeah, my one of my least favorite things is when I see people who are out there like, go buy laundromats, go buy car washes. I'm like, that takes into account nothing about your unique ability. And maybe it's a good idea and maybe it's not a good idea. Like you don't know until you actually get in there and understand what you are great at. And you need to buy a business that you make sense to run. And I'm not just saying this because like it's a good idea. I'm saying it because when you go to apply for a loan with a company, like with a bank for buying a company, the first thing that they ask you to do is provide all of the financials for the business. And they ask you to provide your professional background and show them why you are capable of running that business. So if
Mm,
you're out there looking for businesses that you're actually not well suited to run, it's hard to get financing for it. And they'll tell you that, like, hey, this is like your background is in this. We'll approve you to buy businesses in that range or in that realm, but we're not going to approve you to buy this business. So you do need to actually understand what you're good at and the value you bring to the table on each of these deals.
makes perfect sense to me. So on that note, I do have a question that we usually, because I know you and I actually have a call a little later, exit school related, that I need to like prep for a tiny bit. So I
Yeah.
do have a question that I need to ask that I ask every guest with the idea of life being a pitch and you can sell anything. What is one piece of advice that you would give the listeners so they could be more sold on themselves so they could jump into this game of acquisition?
That is a great question. I would say trust that you have figured out everything you needed up until this point and that you will figure out everything you need moving forward. I think one of the big lies that we tell ourselves is that we need to understand before we can move forward. And really, what you have to do is decide that you're willing to learn, decide that you're willing to study, decide that you're willing to figure it out, decide that you're willing to be bad before you get good. And as soon as you're willing to commit to the destination where you want to go, that's the time when you start moving.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Can I get a tiny bit preachy for a second?
Absolutely. I love preachy JL.
We all, well, my kids don't. So I appreciate you do.
That's okay. My kids don't love my advice either. Like everything I say, you're like, that makes perfect sense. I'm like, how come nobody else says this around the house? Like, hey, mom,
No,
that
I
makes
get it.
perfect sense.
No, I get it. No, it actually goes hand in hand with what you're saying. It's not even preaching to anybody specific. It's just like a biblically backed thing to what you just said. So figuring out everything that you need to know. And so I literally was like journaling yesterday and I was like, okay, what is a verse that I need for me personally? And it took me to Luke 14:28, which basically
Mhm.
says, who goes out to build something and not haven't counted the cost to know they can get it done. Right. And so then I was looking at the cross references of, well, what does it mean to actually finish the job? And literally all it means, or the cross reference in our scriptures and our LDS scriptures, like the little asterisk was commitment, like
Mhm.
making the decision you're going to build the tower, but then just having the commitment to finish it and see it through to the end,
Yeah.
which you don't know everything that's going to be required, but all
Nope.
you do need is the commitment. And I thought it was so
Mhm.
cool that that was the advice that you shared.
Yeah.
Like, cause
It really is. Be committed to I think that once you have a vision and a dream planted in your heart, that is available for you. And
yeah,
the question is, are you going to be committed to seeing it through? Because if you are, in my experience, God opens the right doors, even if sometimes they're scary or they're like, oh, I wasn't expecting it to look like that. Like the doors
yeah,
do open for you. And I feel like that seed of inspiration wasn't, that came from God, the vision of what was possible. Your
yeah,
commitment comes from you, and then He opens the way. But it
I agree.
doesn't come that the way opens without your commitment. You have to have the commitment first.
100%. I agree 100%. Well, Amy, I really, really appreciate you hopping on and sharing your wisdom. I think I have an affiliate link to the exit school. Can I use that and send people to you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Is
We
that
would love
okay?
to chat with any of your listeners.
Okay. We would love to get them in there because what you guys are teaching is invaluable, especially for what is before people on the table now of opportunity in buying businesses. Like there's a massive feast to be had. They just need to know where to go.
Absolutely. And how to find the good ones.